Time now for Extra Points, where we grill sports director Frank Cusumano on some of the hot sports topics of the day. And we're going to begin with Beau Pribula leaving the University of Missouri. He's entered the portal after only 1 year in Columbia.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me in one way because there was a great relationship with Drink. They were paying him a lot of money. But I do think there's a couple of factors. One, was he going to have to compete with Matt Zollers next year to be the starting quarterback? And two, Penn State is open. They're losing their quarterback. That's where he was. That's where he's from.
And he would go back to the Penn State?
Yeah, like he wasn't going to do it this year because they had Drew Aller, who was supposed to be the top quarterback in America. He wasn't. I just wonder what happens there.
So what is the situation in terms of the portal and Mizzou? Are they going to be going after a quarterback, or is Zollers going to be definitely the guy?
You know, I don't know for sure. I think they have to bring in somebody who's played Division I football before, but it's going to be really tough because if they believe Zollers is the guy, how are you going to convince somebody else who's good to come in and say, well, you're going to be the backup to Zollers? Now, there's a couple of good quarterbacks out there. There's one in Cincinnati, there's one in Nebraska. I think they'll go after them. But if they get shot down by them, I think they'll go to like a second tier and they'll find a backup who's had experience.
But they began last season with Sam Horn and Beau Pribula.
Yeah.
They were trying to, whoever won that job, and they kind of were co-quarterbacks at the beginning of the year. Then Horn gets hurt. What's Horn's situation? Is he done?
I would think he's done because he signed a $500,000 contract with the Dodgers. That's probably his long-term sport, baseball, so I don't think he's going to risk it again.
All right, we heard from Dustin May, the Cardinals' new starting pitcher today. Where does he figure in the rotation for the St. Louis Cardinals?
Well, he could end up being your ace. At one time he was a phenom. Remember when he first came up with the Dodgers, that 2019 playoff? He was unbelievable. But torn esophagus, 2 Tommy John surgeries. I don't know where he is. He threw 132 innings last year. That's the good news. The bad news is
his ERA wasn't so good.
It was 5. But I think that this is the kind of pitcher you got to get. Somebody with a potential high end who you can afford and take a shot on. And Mike, if he's really good and the Cardinals aren't, you move him at the deadline.
And we haven't heard anything else about what they might be going after or what trades might happen. We just keep hearing Brendan Donovan's name.
Yeah, and Seattle and San Francisco seem to be the 2 most prominent teams. They have some great prospects in the organization. It's going to be sad to let them go, but look, if you're going to break this thing down, tear it up and let's start over.
It always worries me when you do a sportscast like you did at 5 o'clock today and you say, if the Blues can beat the Rangers tonight, they're right back in it. But that always worries me because every time you say that, they lose. So
yeah.
What do you expect tonight?
Well, the Rangers have the most wins of any team in the National Hockey League on the road. This is going to be tough. But I keep thinking every once in a while, maybe Jordan Binnington is just had enough of this mediocrity, and he becomes Jordan Binnington again. We'll see. This is a big game, and the Blues, like you mentioned to me at 5, they're not playing with all their weapons.
Yeah, all right. Frank Cusumano with Extra Points.